So, PTS for Title Update 5 is going to happen on Monday. It's only for PC, unfortunately, so I, being the console player that I am not going to be able to participate, but that doesn't mean I'm not interested in what's going on. Oh, Lord, don't shoot me. But, so there's a couple things coming with PTS, which stands for those who don't know, Public Test Server. They are... So, first things first, they're unlocking the content in stages on the PTS, and they're doing that, I think, to kind of steer players in certain directions to test certain things at certain times. That way they get the best feedback possible, so that makes sense to me. Like, if there's a new game mode, they're not going to unlock it with, like, everything else. They're going to unlock it in stages. That way people can give more direct feedback about things that they want to hear about. So yeah, that's kind of self-explanatory, at least to me. So there's that. Blueprints now are going to be shared across projects and control points, level 3 and level 4 control points. So if you clear a control point like I'm doing, except I'm doing a level 1 control point right now, just for shits and giggles, you're going to be able to get any of the blueprints. You don't have to wait for a certain project to come up and grind that out. If you miss anything, you just go and do the control points and get whatever random blueprints you want, which I think is good. I think that's like a healthy change to the game, my opinion. The more exciting stuff is heroic bosses are going to reward us with exotics. So if you defeat a heroic boss, you are going to get an exotic. When it comes down to exotics that require you to craft, like the Chatterbox or let's say the Nemesis, those require you to have... You're going to have the blueprints in order to get them to drop. So even if you didn't complete the... even if you didn't craft the weapon, let's say you got all the pieces, you never crafted it, whatever, as long as you have the blueprint, you should be able to have it drop from heroic missions. So that's good. Also, exotics are going to drop at 500. They're also going to drop at the highest possible roll. So that means you won't have to farm for exotics to get the highest possible like damage roll on your Nemesis or your Chatterbox. Everybody's going to have the same 500 gear score Chatterbox and same 500 gear score Nemesis, for instance, which I think is good. I think I mean, if you want to, like, getting an exotic is a grind in itself, right? Do you want to keep on grinding exotics over and over and over again to get the highest possible roll? Probably not. You probably want to work on some other things. So I like that change. Oh, can't get you there. There we go. What else was there? Exotics you get at max roll. I said that already. Cassie, who I believe is the hidden vendor. Cassie, the hidden vendor, the hidden like open world vendor. She is going to be selling exotics, 500 gear score loot, as well as some named items. So that's going to be interesting. Like, I feel like there's going to be more value in her. Like, there's not really a whole lot of vendors like in the first game, right? So instead of like bouncing around every single district and seeing what every vendor is selling, you have like very few vendors. So the ones that you do have should kind of have valuable sought after loot. So I think having the hidden vendor, the hidden open world vendor, to have her sell more sought after loot, I think is a good thing. That's a good change, at least in my opinion. Let me know what you think. Next up, okay, so there is a couple of new exciting things. This next one's not that big of a deal, but if you're like me and changing your display settings to see in the dark in some of the darker rooms in this area does not really help you all that much, you're gonna like this because there are flashlight attachment, flashlight pistol attachments. So it's like the smallest change ever, but it does kind of look cool. They showed off a couple of videos. It kind of, I mean, just seeing it on screen kind of gave me like a Resident Evil vibe. It was kind of cool. Being in the dark and like being able to like shine some light. It sounds pretty like stupid and almost like it's like not a big deal, but I don't know. It's new attachments. They might have some really cool stats on them. And with some of the other changes, I think pistols might be really good. You know, shield build with pistols. Just saying. Flashlight is pretty cool. Mr. Cap, I think so myself, man. Flashlight attachments on pistols looked really cool. The other thing was, so we're getting two new weapons. One is a Carbine 7, the other one is called the Stoner LMG. The Carbine 7 is an assault rifle. Looks really cool. I want to make note that when they showed the images, the top portion of the Carbine 7 was kind of sort of cut off, and it makes me wonder if it had a scope attachment on it that's new that they didn't want to show us, because it was cut off like right above it. So I'm a little curious as to whether or not they're just issuing new attachments into the game and just testing out some like different stats on different attachments. Could be interesting. Like I said, not like something big and exciting, but still, like I get pumped about the little stuff too. They're supposed to always they're also supposed to come with new talents. So that's interesting that they're bringing new talents to the game. I don't know if weapons already existing in the game are going to have these new talents. All they said was that the new weapons, the two new weapons, will have new talents on them. So we'll just have to wait and see. I would imagine that if these new weapons are coming with new talents, that the talents would also be obtainable on other weapons of similar type. So other assault rifles and LMGs will be able to obtain these talents too. But we'll just see. So there's two new exotics coming. The Diamondback, which if you haven't seen it, I'll probably take a screenshot and post it on my socials. It looks really cool. It's basically a Danger Noodle lever action rifle, which we already have a lever action rifle in the game. It's the 1886, which I haven't really used all that much. But this thing looks cool. There's a snake, which is why they called it the Danger Noodle exotic. There's a snake wrapped around the actual gun. It looks really cool. I like it. There's also a pair of gloves. I don't really know too much details about the gloves. They're they basically said they're skill build oriented gloves almost. Like, if you use two different skills, like if you use like an offensive skill and like a more defensive or passive skill, there's gonna be like buffs that you're gonna be able to proc in some way, shape, or form. They didn't really give too many details about it, but it looks cool, and they also look like they are they're definitely Black Tusk exotic gloves. They have the little Black Tusk symbol on them, and they're called BTSU gloves. I assume that stands for Black Tusk Special Unit, I assume. So that's really cool. And then the other big thing they talked about was which is probably the most important thing in the state of the game for me, was the skill, like overhauls to skills and skill builds. They're basically making a bunch of changes so that skill builds are viable, and they're doing it in a way that they're not buffing, they're not nerfing weapon damage. They're buffing like everything skill related. So they used an example of, let's say, you had 3,000 skill power. That was like the example they used. So 3,000 skill power, and you're using a turret. The old turret mods to increase damage would increase damage by 25 to 30%. Now those mods will give I think they said 150% damage increase, which sounds like a lot, but you gotta remember that skills are very weak in this game right now. Very weak in this game. So it sounds like a huge buff, but their intent is to keep everything in line with weapon damage. So, without completely breaking the game and making weapon damage, you know, less effective or anything like that, they're bringing skill damage up, which I think is great. But it's not just skill damage. They emphasize that they're working on the more passive talents like Riot Foam, Pulse, Shields. They showed off a bunch of skills and the increased damage that they're doing. I have to say, if you want to go and look at the state of the game, just skip towards the end and watch those videos. Seeker Mine, and these are like normal difficulty level enemies, like open world difficulty. One-shotting a named boss, or I'm sorry, one-shotting a named boss with a bombardier drone, nearly one-shotting with a Seeker Mine. Apparently any explosive skills are going to be super effective. If you're using anything like the bombardier drone or the explosive Seeker Mine, you're going to be doing a lot of damage. A lot. And that's a good thing. Because right now, they just take off some armor bars and that's it. Oh, please don't kill me, thank you. The other things that they're doing, basically, so skill, like cooldown reduction, is on your armor. Those attributes that say cooldown reduction, they are getting changed to skill haste. So there will be no cooldown reduction anymore. It will forever be skill haste. And that's pretty much it. Oh, I'm getting shot from all ends, aren't I? Yep. I can't see that. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Like, what are you excited for? Like, what's like the first, if you're gonna make a skill build, what's the first skill build you're gonna make? I know for me, I'm probably gonna go for a shield build, because that was my bread and butter in the first game. So it doesn't sound like much. They showed a lot more than what I'm talking about, but I can't really properly illustrate that while just talking about it on stream here. It's kind of one of those things where you got to see it for yourself. But yeah, like I'm confident that skill builds are gonna come back, and it's not gonna completely break the game, and we're gonna have more build diversity. So I'm excited.